Matthew, then Joe, and then we'll go to the second row. Go ahead.
Sure, thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about land-based, about not just that there are these two obviously very high-profile ocean-based, but both below Libya. And it seems like I've heard that there may be as many people dying in the deserts of Niger and in that crossing. And how do you think, as the UN's person on this, how should that be addressed? I also wanted to ask you about Mexico and the U.S. Some people are saying because of this kind of elephant in the room, this long-standing policy of turning people back or returning people and splitting up families, that may be one of the reasons that the UN, say at the level of the GA, hasn't sort of addressed this issue historically. What do you think of that, of the U.S.'s dealings with migration from the South? And just finally, I saw that you are resigning or retiring as Goldman Sachs chair, and so one, that's probably, you got a lot of work now. Was it possible to do this job in the past, to do two? And what do you think of other UN officials? Do you have any advice for them who try to do this sort of two jobs at once? Thanks.
Well, on the final point, I was asked to do a pro bono job in assisting in putting together a high-level dialogue in 2006, and I've continued to work on my own behalf ever since. I resigned many years ago as a managing director and no longer being an executive, and even as a non-executive, I decided, again, supplementing a pro bono activity, which is what I'm doing for the Secretary General, I decided that even that was taking up some time, and I need all my time to deal with what is a coordination job. I'm not running a department within the UN, but I am acting as special representative, so I'm happy to do that, and I'm doing it on behalf of the UN. With regard to the issue of deaths of migrants in circumstances other than drowning in the Mediterranean, of course, the movement of migrants from all sorts of areas with appalling, relative appalling weather conditions or difficulties in travel, moving from the Horn of Africa in particular, and many of the refugees, as opposed to economic migrants, come from Eritrea. These create enormous and appalling problems. And all that I can say is that in the UN has constantly stressed the human rights of the migrants themselves, the obligations of the countries of origin, countries of transit, and countries of destination to look after them. We have seen in many countries remarkable responses in terms of dealing with refugees. I can give you the numbers. For an example, that Jordan, Turkey, and Lebanon have in refugees from Syria. If a comparable number in relative terms were to be taken by Europe to the relative numbers in those two countries, 125 million would be the result in terms of the refugee population from Syria, if that population were available. Of course, it isn't. So, with regard to U.S. Policy in regard to migration, I don't really feel that I should comment on that today. I haven't been focusing on it, and any meanderings by me on the subject would be inappropriate today. But there will be a time when hopefully, I know that in many of the things that we are doing, the administration is actually helping significantly in developing initiatives within the UN dealing with crisis migrants, for an example, and issues of that kind.